I'll call this to order. I have a recommendation that the agenda for the February 8th, 2022 Township of Wellington North Recreation Parks and Leisure Committee meeting be accepted and passed. Now, as the grandfathers on this, I'll just go back and forth between you two. So Councillor Ake, I'll say that you moved that, and Councillor Deputy Mayor Milne, I'll say that you second that. All in favor?
You can just call us sir.
Yeah, okay, thanks. Do you have any disclosure of pecuniary interest, Brian?
No, sir.
I have none. Dan?
No.
Excellent, thank you. I don't. You'll see the minutes of the previous meeting on December 7th. They were approved by council on December 13th, 2021, which seems like quite a while ago. I have no business arising from those minutes. Councillor Yake?
None.
Deputy Mayor?
No.
I have none either. And with that, moving right along, we will we'll go into the presentation. And I will say that Deputy Mayor Milne moved the recommendation and Dan seconded that the Recreation Parks and Leisure Committee received for information presentation on the Mount Forest outdoor pool, and further that the Rec and Parks and Leisure Committee set March 8th, 2022 as the date for the public meeting. And with that, I will welcome Scott Robinson to our meeting and pass the floor over to you, Scott. And thanks for joining us here this afternoon.
Thank you, Steve. A pleasure to be here and anxious to show everybody what we've been up to. I'll attempt to share my screen. Hopefully it'll pop up for us. Okay, does everybody see that splash page in front of them?
Yep, she's good to go.
Yep.
Okay, great. Okay, well, yeah, I think I've met maybe half, at least, of the folks on board. The other half, nice to meet you. As I said, we've been at this for a few months now. I think maybe early November. I came up to the site and met with Matt and Mandy and Tom, and we went through your existing facility as well as your current site. So we've been working away at a couple different concepts that we'd like to share with you, and maybe have a brief discussion around the budget and maybe schedules and next steps. So I'll try to keep this somewhat brief, but hit the highlights. Yeah, as I said, when we were up and walked the site, it was very helpful to me to understand the existing conditions and what you're trying to achieve with creating a bit of a recreation hub here. So definitely saw some nice synergies, you know, with the potential new pool and the existing park to the north, and the existing rank and rec facility to the west. So we looked at that. We talked about, you know, some potential future development that's going to happen with residential as well to the east. So some of that's certainly came into play when we were laying out some of these concepts. And then just going through your existing facility help us understand what the community is experiencing now, and, you know, what are the good things that we can take over to the new project, and some of the less advantageous elements we can leave behind. So we talked a bit about sort of some blue sky thinking, some overall project objectives, you know, what would make this project ultimately successful, and you know, what were some of those key elements that we wanted to incorporate in the design. So we came up with some of those key drivers, which I distilled down to, you know, four main principles. And these principles of creating a a destination hub, again, that, has those synergies with the existing facilities, a place that would offer, a wide range of programs and leisure activities for the entire community, a place that is safe and accessible and inclusive, and also a facility that is not going to hamstring you with issues in the future. So we wanted it to be, durable and efficient operationally. We know there's not endless buckets of money to operate and staff this facility. So those are the four main drivers that we kept, in the back of our mind as we went on and looked at the three concepts. We developed the concepts sort of based on different programmatic nuances, if you will. We have the first concept is more recreational centric design, and then we looked at one that was more of a swim centric design, and then the third one was a bit of a hybrid of both. So the first design we looked at, we had a couple of 25-meter swim lanes. We have a large beach entry for the little ones and people with mobility issues. We have ramps, and then we have a large flat area for programming and for aquafit and those things. And then we have, a deep end where we could have a diving board, and maybe similar to the one you have now. And we also created a little therapy rest area with some bubble jets as well. So this was sort of more to the recreation side of things than the swim side of things. From a site point of view, we took a bit of a different approach with each concept as well, just to open up some discussions on how we wanted to have the bathhouse relate to the pool, but also the context of the site. So the bathhouse we had located perpendicular to Princess Street here. So you'd come in off the parking, check yourself in, go through the change and shower areas, and then enter the pool deck here. We like to keep the beach entry and shallow areas adjacent to the bathhouse, just in case, the little ones get a little excited and run out and just jump in the pool, which they often do. Prefer that not to happen in the deep end. And at the opposite end, the south end, we've created a wood trellis, and we're suggesting maybe some artificial turf or artificial grass, so families can come and plunk down for the day and enjoy the pool with a bit of shelter from the sun. We've created some sunshades along the east and the west, as well as some bleachers, or benches, I guess is a better term, similar to what you have now. So this is concept one. I'll run through all three concepts, and then we can backtrack unless somebody has a specific question about this concept. I don't see any hands. So the next concept we looked at, as I said, this was more of a swim centric, more geared towards swim lessons and recreational swimming. We still maintained areas for aquafit and certainly some recreational areas as well. But this one has, as you can see, it has 4 swim lanes instead of 2. These would be 25-meter swim lanes as well. And instead of the beach entry, we have what we call teaching steps. So these are very low slung teaching steps where toddlers can come in and gradually work their way into the pool. They're also really good for instructional uses as well. So it's a good way to work with the little kids and keep them comfortable and safe. We have a ramp access as well for accessibility and stairs, and we've created a deep end. And in this particular option, we're showing potential of a dive board and a climbing wall. Because we have more swim lanes, we have a bit more seating area here. So this would be more like the bleachers you have in your existing facility. We've created the sun and some shading along the south. And with the respect to the bathhouse, we've changed the orientation so it's perpendicular, parallel to the parking, so it's adjacent to the parking. And we've separated the washroom component out, thinking this may be an option to keep the bathrooms open that could serve the park across the street without actually, coming into the bathhouse itself. So it's a bit of a different look there, and tying them all together and creating a nice trellis that supports and becomes a bit of a element for Princess Street. So in a nutshell, that's the swim centric plan. And then as one would imagine, we've taken sort of a hybrid approach from options 1 and 2, and trying to create, I guess, the best of both worlds, and to have a program that would be, I guess, more open to all the members of the community. So we've got 3 lanes of swimming. We've got the beach entry. We still got the aquafit area, as well as the rock wall or the climbing wall and the diving board. And this one we've kept the bathhouse and the washroom together. So we've located that along the parking, and we've created a service area adjacent to the parking as well, which functionally works really nice with this plan. Created the trellis and shade areas to the south. And here in the pool, you can see we've got this nice beach entry, and these faint lines just showing some potential water features. We've used dumping buckets, which you can see in the beach entry. We have these sort of fountain and spray features. We've also had some we call geysers, which sort of shoot up out of the water. So it becomes a really engaging area for the kids, and they can gradually work their way down into the deeper areas of the pool. In all cases, we wanted to maintain this flat area so we can program that with aquafit and exercise classes. Here to the east, you can see the 3 swim lanes, and then to the south, we're still maintaining a dive board and the climbing wall. The climbing walls we've used quite a bit in the past 4 or 5 years. They're very popular with the kids, and they're fairly inexpensive feature that basically it just fits right into some discussions into the deck itself. So it's easy to install, and during the winter months you just unhook it and store it for the winter. So we had a lot of discussions around potential recreation type elements, and of course these can be mixed in. These 3 schemes can be mixed and matched. It's not a matter of necessarily picking one over the other, but I think working with Matt and Mandy, I think we tried to come up with 3 options that would hopefully satisfy everybody's inclinations towards programming, and how different members of the community could see themselves fitting into the pool, whether they want to do morning lap swims or just come and sort of hang out for the day with the kids, or do lessons, or the teenagers could still have fun with climbing walls and diving boards. So essentially that's where we're at with the 3 concepts. Happy to answer any questions related to how we came up with it, or if we're missing something, happy to discuss about that as well.
Great, thanks very much, Scott. It's always hard to kind of I guess pick or have a favorite when they all look fantastic, and they're all very versatile, and it's got lots of shade and lots of practical use as well. Dan or Brian, do you guys have any questions for Scott while we have him on the call here? Yeah, go ahead, Deputy Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Pretty exciting concepts, no doubt about that. Just one question that pops into my mind is, does the prevailing wind direction have any bearing on how you lay out pools? Or the accessories that go around it, i.e. trellis and all that kind of stuff?
Yes and no. I mean, it really is, it becomes more an element to look at, the comfort while you're on the deck, I guess, is the big thing. Certainly, and same with the exposure to the sun. So we wanted to, have some shade, definitely to the south, but the prevailing winds, I don't see as an issue in any one of these concepts, because we do have some treat areas adjacent to the site and buildings to, well, I guess the east eventually and west.
Yep. Okay. No, that's fine. And just one other question, if I could, Mr. Chair.
Absolutely.
I'm just wondering, the depth of the water, and maybe you mentioned this and I missed it, but the depth of the water in the beach entry and the flat and the swim lanes, is that all about the same, or how does that measure?
Good question, and thank you for bringing that up. I did not mention that, and I probably should have. Graphically, we tried to delineate the different depths. The beach entry starts right at the deck, and it will slope down to this flat area here, which is usually between 38 and 42 inches for the aquafit, and that would be the same for the swim lane. So you can still do your flip turns and all that, no problem, and you have a nice large flat area for the aquafit. And then as we go into the deep ends, depending on the height of the board, we are at about 9 feet there. So that would be fairly standard for a 1 meter dive board. If we wanted to get up something higher, then we have to go a bit deeper, obviously.
Right on. Okay. No, that's good. Thank you.
Okay.
Thanks for that, Brian. Do you have any questions, Dan? Sorry, I can't hear you, Grandpa.
Sorry, I'm choking up. I think all the concepts are really good. It's obviously won't be an easy decision, I think, coming up with the exact design, but I think what's been laid out here is certainly a nice is a good start. I think there's a lot of pros and cons to each one, I guess. And it's just nice to see it. Once you can see it in the concept stage and on a plan, it kind of makes it look like it's really starting to move along. So other than that, just good to see the concepts.
Thanks, Dan.
Great, thank you.
I have another question, if I could, Mr. Chair.
Yeah, go ahead.
Just wondering about the idea, and I'd like to hear from maybe Tom what his thoughts are on the separate washroom facility to the bathhouse. Is that something that our staff kind of threw in there, or is that something that came from the pool design company?
No, through you, Chair. No, Councillor Milne, that came from our concept designs. We haven't chose any of them yet. It's just an option they threw in there, which is different. I had never seen it before, so that's one that we'll have to take into consideration.
Well, what do you think of it? Is there a demand for washrooms above and beyond what you've already got to the north?
Yeah, I'd have to agree with you. No, there really isn't a demand for them.
Right.
So
okay. No, that's fine.
Not one of the things I would choose.
Right. Okay. No, that's fair. Thank you.
Yeah, go ahead, Dan.
Yeah, I like that idea. I like the idea of having those washrooms available. I think it's, if you're gonna go to this, if we're gonna go with this building of a new facility, I think we have to take into account while we're doing it, everything that may or may not be needed. I really do like the idea. I know that washrooms can be a bit of an issue in regards to maintenance and when they're opened and closed and cleaning and that type of thing. But I really do think we need to investigate thoroughly having that as a, it's just something else that we can offer to people that are using that park, since that's going to be, everything seems to be moving over that way. There's more and more people using it, so I think it's something that we really need to consider.
Yeah, thanks. I was just going to say, maybe you could go to that concept number, if you didn't mind, Scott, just quick while we're shooting about it. Yeah, I kind of like the idea of having that, I guess, open to the public as well, and making the most use of this area. And I know there's, I think there's Johnny on the spots there on the other side, but I know there's soccer that goes on and baseball, and hopefully all those are up and active again this year. I have another question for you, Scott or Matt, but go ahead, Tom, first.
Just so you guys are aware, there are washrooms at the Cork Street Pavilion there that are generally open to the public. They haven't been while COVID's on, but those are open daily too. So, and they're just across the street.
Okay, perfect. Thanks for that, Tom. I just had one quick question, and it doesn't matter. It's with regards to all of the concepts. Are there berms on the east and south side where the trees are, just for a bit more privacy and windbreak, or is this all one ground flat level?
Good question. I mean, we would definitely support I'll go back to the site plan, I think, if I can go the right direction. Yeah. Yeah, it would be nice if we could berm up something to the east, especially. We're gonna, if that future residential goes in, and I'm sure it will, you may end up with probably a lot of fencing along the back, but if we could sort of berm it up anyway, that would be nice, and maybe even a bit towards the south. Potentially doing a small berm between the parking and the deck space there. Even like with some of the thinking, as you can see on all of plans, it's like we're trying to create some privacy elements, whether it's the physical building or trellis or sunshades, just to give some degree of privacy. Like, not all people like to strut around in their bathing suits. Some people, would prefer a bit of privacy. They don't want to feel like they're, in a fishbowl kind of thing. So we're cognizant of that, and certainly some berming, and we're showing some new trees or some planting beds, which is also very good, as a way of just having some degree of privacy.
Yeah, I kind of like that idea, just having it a little bit more separate, but kind of close to everything, but still like kind of not within, as you say, sight lines, Scott.
Right.
I'll go to Dan, and then I'll go to you, Ryan.
Yep.
Just a question maybe to Matt. Matt, the future development that's to the east of the site, that's not municipal property, is it?
Through your chair, McCabe, not to the best of my knowledge, no.
Okay.
I think it's future residential development to the east.
Okay, but the township doesn't own that property?
No.
Okay.
Thank you for that. And yeah, Brian, you're on now.
Yeah, Scott, I'm wondering the concept of the trellises and so on. I chuckle because we were talking about being grandfathers. If I'm taking my granddaughter or grandson to swimming lessons, is it expected that I would come through the bathhouse and onto the deck to watch, or is there opportunities to set up lawn chairs outside the fence so that I don't have to go through the bathhouse to watch? Or is the expectation these days that everybody goes in onto the deck?
Yeah, I mean, that would be, that's my experience, operationally. You know, you could look at it in a couple of different ways. I wouldn't suggest, setting up, sort of viewing areas outside of the limits of the fence. It's nice to know who's in the facility and, who's, I guess, accompanying kids or whatever. I don't know if, maybe Mandy wanted to speak to that operationally, but from our point of view, everybody on the deck really should, be checked in and accounted for whether they want to swim or not.
Okay, no, I see. I think I know where you're going with that. I hadn't thought of that angle, but I understand. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, go ahead, Karen.
So just to clarify though, if my daughter takes my grandchild in to swim and I want to watch them, if all of this is bermed, like, are you going to have all the spectators in there? I mean, that's a lot of screening. That's a lot of people in there. Because every new grandkid, Brian and Dan will attest, will have 4 grandparents that want to come in and watch, right?
Well, the first time, and then after that, no.
Exactly. I'm just wondering about the number of people that would be on the deck if there's no outside fencing that you could watch from. I don't know. Maybe that's a new concept. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, you've got a fair bit of deck space. It's a big site. We can expand the deck space as required, but that also expands your budget, kind of thing. So we tried to, offer some seating, and I think it also will be relative to your programming. So, if you're having, for an hour in the morning, you're having, swim lessons for toddlers, you're not going to have a bunch of, teenagers jumping off the diving board and, hanging out. So programmatically, it'll sort of direct how many people are on the deck, regardless. And when you have, an open swim, you'll have more people, of course, but probably you won't have the toddlers and instructional lessons happening at that time.
Yeah, thanks for that, Scott. And I see your hand up there, Matt.
Thanks, Steve. Yeah, and part of this is the first time these drawings have been made public. So part of the process will be to see what public consultation results in. I think in Arthur, there might be like a stand outside the fence so that people can sit there, but that's something that, yeah, this is kind of the first kick at the cat in terms of putting out some concepts and some ideas. The other thing that I would note is that some of the things that are shown on the concepts with respect to sunshades, climbing walls, even turf or potentially trellises, those might be items that the fundraising committee kind of takes under their wing from a funding standpoint. So they're kind of shown in the concept just to get an idea of what the pool could be. But we have actually another meeting tonight with the fundraising committee because some of those things like the water feature in the beach entry and those kind of amenities might be something that get kind of particularly fundraised for. Because correct me if I'm wrong, Scott, but these 3 concepts are all in the magnitude of $5 million in 2021 dollars. So they're more than what the township was planning. And of course, it remains to be seen kind of what 2022 tenders look like in 2023. But we're looking at a community amenity that's $5 million. So it's it's an expensive amenity that we want to get right, and that's why we want to go through the public consultation process and give folks an opportunity to chime in on how they envision this space looking for the next 50 years.
Yeah, I think you make a good point, Matt, just with some fundraising opportunities that will come out of this for sure. And there's a meeting about that tonight, so. I don't have any more questions for Mr. Robinson, Deputy Mayor or Councillor Yake.
Oh, I'm good. Thank you.
No, I'm good too, Steve, thank you.
Thanks. And Matthew, I see you got your hand up, so go ahead.
Yep, yes, just for a point of clarification, the resolution that's on the floor right now is just to receive this report, but obviously this becomes public at this point, and staff will aim for March 8th to, as part of our Recreation, Parks and Leisure Committee, to have a like a public consultation or an open house type meeting. Although at this point, it's very likely it's going to be a remote meeting. But that's kind of the two components of the resolution. I think it's almost a foregone conclusion. It'll be a remote meeting, and that's unfortunate from a staff standpoint, but that's probably where we'll be at.
Yeah, and I agree with you, Matt. It's, people like to see the big not cardboard, but plaqued pictures of the concepts. And then, you get more interaction with the designers like Scott and the rest of us and staff, of course, if it's in person. But yeah, I can't imagine we'll be in person. It'll likely be virtual. So we've got to play in the sandbox that we have. So I want to thank you very much, Scott, for your time this afternoon, and thanks for all your presentation and the answers to the presentations as well. And we will be in touch. This will not be the last time we talk. So.
Okay, that's great. I'll take further direction from Matt for sure. And yeah, it was a pleasure showing you the concepts, and we will develop some 3D images from this point now that we haven't had any adverse reactions to the designs. You didn't kick me out of the meeting, so that's all good. And
perfect. That sounds great. Thank you.
It's
okay.
Matt, the one we wanted to kick out of the meeting. He's the spoil sport that says, "Oh yeah, but you got to pay for this." I will correct Scott at the start where he mentioned that he didn't think there were buckets of money. Well, this is Wellington North, so you could argue otherwise.
Okay, good. Because he's a little light on the 5 million, so I'll leave it at that.
Oh, okay.
Well,
Thank you.
I'm glad we can lean on Southgate for any shortfalls. So that's great.
Oh yeah, sure, not a problem.
No, thanks again, Scott. Really appreciate it, and look forward to seeing you back here again.
Will do. Thanks. Good luck tonight, Matt.
Thanks, Scott.
So I have that recommendation on the floor. It was moved by Dan and seconded by Brian. All in favor? Thank you very much. We don't have any deputations tonight. We do have an ad hoc committee update with regards to the Arthur BMX Skateboard Park Ad Hoc Advisory Committee meeting of January 26, 2022. And I have a recommendation moved by Deputy Mayor Milne that the Rec and Parks and Leisure Committee receive for information the minutes of the January 26, 2022 Arthur BMX Skateboard Park Ad Hoc Advisory Committee meeting, and further that the RPL Committee supports continuing negotiations with the Canadian Ramp Company on their proposal removing the bike park, increasing half pipe to 5 feet, quarter pipe to 4 feet, with additional design considerations to be given to the pump track with regards to layout, location, and cost. And I'll say, Dan, that you seconded that. And it looks like Matt, you're on the hook for this. Or sorry, I just saw Lisa come in. Whichever one of you, I've got Matt listed as the presenter for this one, but you guys can share that and go with Al as well. So have at it.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Matt, please.
Thanks, Chair McCabe. I can give a brief summary, having attended the meeting. This was the meeting to evaluate proposals that we got in as it related to the skate park. Unfortunately, after our request for proposal period, we didn't receive any tenders, but we did receive one late. So it was agreed that we would open that one and take a look at it. So that night we really had two proposals to look at. One was the original proposal that was a skate park, a pump track, and a bike track. and that was $180,000 plus taxes. As well, that day, Canadian Ramp, working with staff, had put together a subsequent proposal that showed a skate park and a pump track, and it was at $199,000. Through the course of the conversation, the resolution is kind of what's been presented, which was to look at increasing the height of the half pipe and the quarter pipe. And what you'll see in the agenda is the report that follows is sort of what staff have come up with working with Canadian Ramp Company. And in a nutshell, Canadian Ramp Company doesn't recommend increasing the height of those two features, just because that would make it more that you'd have to be like an intermediate or maybe a more advanced skater. So from a community skate park standpoint, really what Canadian Ramp has done is put together a proposal that would see the skate park that was part of the original proposal. So that's a 100-foot by 52-foot slab. And then a pump track from the second proposal, which is kind of a triangular pump track, 55 feet by 50 feet. All of that fits in the area that's kind of, been earmarked. And that price came in at the $170,000. That's part of that subsequent report. So I know the chair of that committee, Councillor Hearn, is here, and Al, who's been an active member of that committee, to speak to any questions as well.
Thanks for that, Matt. And Al or Councillor Hearn, anything to add? I'll open the floor to you before we get to questions from the committee.
Did you have something to say, Al? I'll let you go first.
Yeah, go ahead, Al. Thanks.
The audio is in and out. I don't know if it's my internet or if it's a problem somewhere else, but I'm sometimes losing some of the speech.
We can hear you now, so go ahead.
Matt, did go back to this quarter pipe and half pipes as the proposal for Canadian Ramp?
I'm sorry, Al, I missed that.
I'm gonna go to my tablet.
Oh.
Carry on and I'll
Yeah,
bring it
just
up on
gonna-
my tablet.
All right, thanks, Al. Lisa, we'll go with you and then we'll get back to Al.
Okay, I was trying to leave my mic off. My puppy is outside my office door and she's really kicking up a stink out there. So, I don't know whether anyone had any questions. Basically, like Matt said, we kind of decided to combine the two proposals. The first one that we were presented with, like he said, did include the BMX component, but at our previous meeting, we decided against that due to maintenance issues and a bunch of other things. So we kind of went with the kind of a combination of the first and the second proposal. The only thing I don't like about the second proposal is that there's grass in the middle of it. I don't know whether Matt has followed up with Canadian Ramp Company about that or whether there's anything that needs to be done about that. And I don't know the base that it's on.
Yeah, I think it's intended to be like a gravel or a grass, but that's something that I can suss out. I think a concrete slab would be too expensive for what kind of where we want to end up, but with a good gravel base there, it's probably something that maybe makes the maintenance as easy as possible. Yeah, because certainly weed whacking in and around that pump track isn't a fun weekly or twice a week activity.
Some of the similar ones that I've looked at, and I've kind of tried to look at a lot of them, you can do that online pretty easily, have gravel or some sort of substrate like that in the middle to combat that. Other than that, I don't think I have any other comments. Canadian Ramp Company seems to want to work with us, and given the benefit of the doubt, it did come in a couple hours late, but that was when it had to come by courier, And you recall the big snowstorm that was in Toronto that kind of incapacitated everything. The courier company couldn't guarantee the time it would be delivered.
Fair enough. Okay, Al, back to you if we can try and get you back in on this. Thank you.
Okay,
Lisa,
can you hear
as
me
well.
now? Can you hear me now?
Sounds good.
Okay, my question I have is for Matt. When we spoke the other day by phone, Matt, we talked about the height of the quarter and half pipes, where the suggestion was to try and have them made higher. And Canadian Ramp indicated that it would be not so friendly to smaller children, and it was a question as to whether or not you wanted to raise them or not. Have you come to a decision on that?
So the recommendation that is before committee would not see them raised. It would stay with the 4 and the 3 foot options as far as how Canadian Ramp originally presented it. And that's kind of keeping in line with Canadian Ramp's recommendation that novice skaters are more comfortable on those types of sizes. The other part of the conversation with Canadian Ramp is that it's a very modular system. And if in 2 years' time, or if at any point in the future, we wanted to add different features, you know, assuming we have space on the concrete slab and it can be accommodated, it's it's something that could be added. But right now, no, the recommendation that was passed at committee isn't reflected in the recommendation that's part of the report that follows here.
So we're gonna stay with what it was.
Correct, yes.
I'm good with that. I mean, we don't want to kill anybody out there on this.
No, good Lord,
And
no,
the-
don't wanna.
And the township is on the hook for the liability. So,
Yeah, we can stay away from injury and harm. I think that's probably in our best interest. That's
sounds
good.
good.
Thank you. Sorry, go ahead.
The only other comment I wanted to make was, when it comes to that pump track with the big triangular infield of it, any problem turning that into putting the wood chips like they put around in the playground? Tear the grass out and put wood chips.
I think staff are still looking at potentially gravel or wood chip, some kind of surface that we don't have to regularly maintain. But I'm not going to commit that staff have what we feel that should be, although probably the leaning would be to a gravel. But wood chips is something that maybe we haven't considered enough at this point.
It may be a little bit forgiving if you fall off your bike and or your skateboard and land in it. A little more forgiving than stone, but I really doesn't matter. I'm not going to be using it, so I'm not concerned about me.
Fair enough, Al. Yeah, no, I think there's a few things that we can still look at, like Matt has alluded to, and work in project or progress as we carry on. Karen, I see you've opened up your video.
Yeah, I'm just looking at the resolution where that's on the floor, that the committee supports continuing negotiations to increase the half pipe to 5 feet and quarter pipe to 4 feet, but that doesn't support what Matt just said, that you want to stay with the 4 foot and 3 foot options. So I'm wondering if we need a friendly amendment to the resolution.
I don't
Or
like
I'm,
the,
or maybe I
Go ahead,
don't
Matt.
understand, Matt.
yeah,
Yeah, go ahead, Matt.
I was just going to say the report that follows kind of addresses that. So I think that comment is addressed in the report that follows, Karen. So I'm not sure for sure that evening that was committee's direction. And I think we have continued negotiation and it's kind of documented in the next report. But I'll defer to if that's not appropriate to have it as a resolution.
So if we do this recommendation and we say, yep, this is what we're recommending, and then in the report, it's completely different, is that out of step or?
It's so the minutes are going to be forever. And in 2 years, we're going to be able to find these minutes. And someone's going to say, well, you recommended them to be 5 feet and 4 feet. So reports are kept for a period of time, but your resolution should always be standalone. So you don't have to go and find a report to explain the resolution, especially when it's not at all what's going to be the end result. I don't know if I'm explaining that correctly, but
Sounds like we should have the recommendation and resolution tight in the reports.
well, motions are forever, reports are, they're kind of transient. And I get that that's what was recommended by the BMX skateboard park. But if you don't support that, I don't think you should pass this resolution. You should either amend it or defeat it and go back to the drawing board, and then you got to circle the whole loop again. Yeah, go ahead, Brian. Or sorry.
Well, I was just going to ask the clerk if she could suggest some wording that would be agreeable to what we've just discussed.
Well, then I just saw Mr. Mike come on, so I can't imagine he doesn't want to stay silent, so.
Through you, Chair, maybe we could ask Mandy to pull up the actual agenda, because I think there's a bit of confusion about what was passed at the BMX skateboard park and what we're asking this committee to pass tonight. So the section that Mandy's highlighting now, which is under adjournment, or up there, right? This is a resolution, Karen, that was passed by the ad hoc committee, not this committee. That resolution that's highlighted in blue was passed by the ad hoc BMX skateboard park. So that's already done.
Okay.
And we're just supporting it.
What Matt is trying to get passed is the recommendation below that from the report.
Sorry, Matt. Okay. All right.
And then we're just seeing this as a committee, we're just seeing this as giving them our support for their recommendation that came out of that ad hoc committee.
But you don't really want to support it. You want to.
Exactly. We're not actually supporting it, Chair McCabe. We're altering what was passed by the BMX skateboard park based on negotiations that have happened with staff and Canadian Ramp Company. And that's what Matt's report reflects, is those negotiations and what we're asking this committee to pass.
Yeah, so we should, but we're being asked to support this, but we should put an amendment in to change the heights before we.
Okay, so the motion that Mandy just highlighted, where it talks about the 5-foot quarter pipe to 4 foot, I would take out that I would amend it to say the RPL committee.
Can we leave it from removing the bike park and then taking that increasing half pipe to 5 feet, quarter pipe to 4 feet right out?
So I don't think you want to touch the recommendation that was passed by the previous committee. What I think Karen is suggesting is that Matt's recommendation from RPL 2022-001 needs to be amended to reflect the fact that we're going back from the 5 feet to the 4 feet.
But even
right now there's ambiguity around that. Within the report, it's clear, but not in the recommendation.
But even if you pass the motion that's on the floor, where we say the RPL committee, which come out of the bike, that the BMX skateboard park, the second clause of that says you're going to support the 5 foot to 4 foot. I think maybe that needs to be amended.
Support continuing the negotiation, which at this point, that negotiation has happened.
Okay, that, all right, yep.
And then we can leave it as is, no amendment, just because we're supporting that has come out of the ad hoc and the negotiations that were had.
You're continuing, yes. And then I think the next recommendation, as Mike said, we should be clear that you're supporting the 170,000 in another clause where the design has been amended to reflect what Matt had said.
Okay.
So we'll
So
amend the
then
next,
With this recommendation that's on the floor, we can move forward with and then go on to the next portion. Okay, good. All right, thanks for that. We just want to be clear and be above board. So, all right, so we have that recommendation, excuse me, moved and seconded. All in favor? Thank you. And I have report RPL 2022-001, award of the Brent Barnes Memorial Skatepark. You'll see Schedule A and Schedule B there. And I have a recommendation that the Recreation, Parks and Leisure Committee receive report RPL 2022-001 being a report on the award of the Brent Barnes Memorial Skatepark. And further, that the committee recommend the Council of the Township of Wellington North award the Brent Barnes Memorial Skatepark to Canadian Ramp Company at a cost of $170,294 plus applicable taxes. And further, that the council authorize the Director of Operations or their designate to sign any necessary agreements with the successful bidders to execute this project. So where can we put in and further?
I would suggest that after you talk about the price, the 170 plus applicable taxes, that and further negotiations with the Canadian Ramp Company, through negotiations with the Canadian Ramp Company, it was determined
To proceed with a 4-foot half pipe and a 3-foot quarter pipe.
there you go.
Okay, so you want us to add that now or after the discussion? Sorry, after the
Well,
discussion?
after, you might as well
Okay.
discuss that during your discussion, so
Okay,
that
so
forms
say
part
this
of the
was
list.
moved by Councillor Yake and seconded by Deputy Mayor Milne. And we will open the floor for some new discussions about the heights. Go ahead, Brian.
I'm good with what they said.
Fair enough. Matt, do you have anything else to add, or Al or Lisa, now that this actual report is the one that we're going to have a little bit of amendment? Yeah, Al, go ahead.
No, just another question for Matt. In any subsequent discussion you had with Canadian Ramp since last week, since we spoke, did you find out any more information as to how they fasten the ramps down to the concrete?
Yep, through you, Chair McCabe. They lag the bolts into the concrete slab, so there's not bolt carriages that need to be placed or cast into the concrete slab. The equipment lags down into the concrete slab.
That's perfect. So we just make a flat, smooth slab.
Yep, yep.
I
And
like
for,
that. Perfect,
for-
thank you.
for further clarification, following tonight, these minutes would be endorsed by council on February 26th or 22nd. And that's at which point kind of the award would become official. And in that time, township staff are just looking at the concrete specification that Canadian Ramp has given and the geotech work we did. So we'll be able to work with the Lions first thing this spring as it relates to what that slab needs to look like.
Excellent. That's good.
All right.
Is this public knowledge now?
All right, go ahead, Al.
The fact that you're awarding this contract to Canadian Ramp, is that now public knowledge, or do I need to keep my big mouth shut? Because I have a Lions Club meeting tomorrow night.
It will be until we pass this in about 2 minutes, Al.
Oh, okay. That's good. I have a Lions Club meeting tomorrow night. So I would
Okay.
like to be able, if possible, to tell them that.
Perfect.
Good.
Okay, so with that report, there is a friendly amendment to change the sizes, as Matt has pointed out and Karen has pointed out. Do we need to see that in writing at all, Karen or Mike, or can we
Well,
just kind of that amendment and then call for the vote?
You'll see it in writing in the minutes, and it's been recorded the way, what the resolution is gonna say. So we're good.
Okay, great, thank you. Dan or Brian, any other questions, or Lisa at all?
No,
I'm
I'm
good.
okay.
Okay, great. This is a great step forward, and looking forward to this getting awarded and letting Canadian Ramp Company know, and then of course Al letting the Lions and Arthur know. I think it's been a long time coming, but it's well worth it, and I think we've got something that we are going to really enjoy, and the residents are going to enjoy, and it's going to be another jewel that's at the recreation area in sorry, I was going to say in Mount Forest, but in Arthur. So I want to thank you, Al, for all your time that you've spent, and Wayne and Glenn as well. And please pass that on to the Lions, and also for the contributing this I guess you would say park amenity to the township and to the residents. We really appreciate that. And without service groups like the Lions, be barren area in Arthur there. And so thanks for the foresight to think of the people that are going to be using it, and using it from now and into the future. And thank you to Lisa for being on this committee as well. I know it's been a bit of a long journey, but I think through all of the COVID protocols that we've had to go through, and doing this all over Zoom, I think we've done very well, I think, all together. So I really appreciate that, Al, and Lisa, and staff, of course, as well, for all three groups kind of coming together and getting this dream into a reality. Yeah, go ahead, Lisa.
If you're gonna thank people, I just don't want to overlook Jack.
Yeah, oh no, it's a great committee, and I hope this is not the last we see of Jack, and I hope he's on more committees on the future, and hopefully he has a bright future on a future council of Wellington North. So always good to have the youth involved as well. So thanks very much for everyone that is involved. So with that, I do have the recommendation on the floor, and I will call for a vote. All in favor? Thank you very much. Al, you can tell the Lions tomorrow at the meeting.
I will make that announcement, and I will pass along your sentiments to all the other members who worked on this.
Great. Thanks very much, Al. Appreciate it.
You're welcome. Thank you.
I'll go around the table just for items for considerations. I have none. Deputy Mayor Milne. Councillor Yake.
No, I think I'm okay too.
Okay, great. Thank you. Mike, I see your camera's on. Anything to add for considerations?
Just gonna touch on, we were contacted recently about hosting the Vax bus at the Arthur Community Center. Sharing with this committee, and that request has come in. I don't anticipate that there's any concern about doing that, but wanted to run it past this group to see if you guys had any thoughts, concerns around that. If not, I will share that with Tom and his team to see if we can coordinate. It's not a guarantee that it will come, but they're looking at particular sites, and I think most have probably heard about the Vax bus. I've heard some horror stories, but hopefully those are all worked out at this point. So, but yeah, just sharing that with the committee.
Great, thanks for that, Mike. And it's nice that they have thought to put a Vax bus up here. Any dates in the works, or just kind of willingness to help them out? Or
yeah, basically at this point, it's just asking about the sites, whether it would be suitable, that kind of stuff, whether there's access for washrooms, things of that nature. So it's really preliminary at this point. But yeah, if it proceeds, certainly we would share that more broadly once dates are established, if they are. So, but yeah, pretty early on, I guess, in terms of the process.
okay, great. Thanks very much, Mike. Appreciate that. I will not have any concerns with that going ahead. So, and with that, I will go to a roundtable. Again, I don't have any real items to speak at the roundtable. Councillor Yake.
No, well, maybe I just, while I was sitting here thinking, just since we have maybe I'll direct this to Tom. Since we've kind of opened up here a little bit in the last few weeks. How have things been going?
Through you, Mr. Chair, yep. Pretty much the same as when we shut down, Dan. Everybody is on board with it. We haven't had any opposition. We haven't had to kick anybody out. People are okay with the QR codes. So yeah, things are going the way we expected them. And hopefully
Okay.
we get rid of everything and get some, maybe they'll make the restrictions less on
Yeah.
February 21st.
Yeah. Okay. No, that's good to hear. Thanks, Tom.
Yeah, here's hoping. That's good.
Just further to Tom's comment, I was there as a patron and they didn't kick me out. So, things are going pretty well.
You probably had a mask on. They didn't know who you were.
Hey, you got that right.
Always one slips through the cracks.
Yep.
Don't let anyone in.
Yeah, it was a test case.
That was
It's
a
good. There's been no issues, and I know people were chomping at the bit to get back in and on the ice again. So that's great to see that there's been no issues with you or with staff as well. So.
Yeah. Oh, very good.
And I do have an ice extension verbal report, and I will pass that over to you as well.
Okay. Yeah, all the sports groups were notified January 25th about the new regulations. So we were prepared. It was nice this time around. They give us a week to prepare. So the clubs and everybody was ready. We were ready. Then they changed the food and beverage thing at the last minute, but that was a bonus for us, which was great. Now you can have your coffee and watch a hockey game at the same time. So the ice extension, the original dates were for Arthur, we were going to take it out March 25th. It generally comes out right after March break. And in Mount Forest, it was going to be April 4th. So what we're going to do, we're going to leave the Mount Forest April 4th. Most of the groups or all of the groups have been okay with that, and they'll be done before that date. March 21st, I talked with the president of Arthur Minor Hockey. They were concerned with the date, so we're pushing that back to March 28th. They should have most of their playoff series complete. If there's one or two teams left, there will be ice in Mount Forest, and we'll move them up there to accommodate them. The only one I haven't heard from is the Patriots, and I was on the PGHL website and found out their playoff series. The first round will be done by March 20th. Second round will be done by April 3rd, and the finals will be done at April 17th. Their division final, Schmaltz Cup, will be played at the Guelph University. So they won't even be playing that in Mount Forest. We have not discussed moving the ice back for them at all, and they haven't asked for it yet. So we'll cross that bridge when we get there.
Okay, should give them a little bit more exposure for the finals, and that's kind of interesting.
Yeah, with all 8 teams heading for Guelph to do their play downs down there, it will make it interesting, and I think they'll have more fans. Well, not home fans, but they should have a good crowd at the university.
Yeah, I think so. Any ice rental updates at all, or are they still out, or how's that being handled, Tom, at both facilities?
What do you mean by rental?
Like,
all groups are back. All shinny groups are back. Public skating, parents and tots, we're back doing everything the way we were.
Okay, and like if I wanted to rent the ice for an hour, is that part of the protocol, or is that? Can people do that again?
Yep, we can still do that again. Jesse's taken a few. When there's ice available, we try to rent that out.
Great, good to hear.
So if you have got a couple grandfathers that want to come out and play some hockey, bring them with you.
One-on-one.
There'd be a couple long streaks of rust on my blades for the first few strides.
We'll take on the young ones.
Yep, not a problem. We play defense pretty well.
Those boards are pretty solid. They'll hold us.
I'll just lay down across the net.
Goalies, everybody's looking for a goalie.
Dan's a good goalie.
Well, that's good. Thanks very much, Tom. And again, appreciate all that you and all the staff, not just well, all the staff in general at the township, but in rec. I know you guys have had a little bit harder time with this COVID. I know a number of years ago, I think it was Andy, the mayor, had said that rec is usually the face of the municipality, and you guys have upheld that part of your end very, very well, and good on you and staff as well. So thank you for that.
Thank you.
With that, I have no other items except for a recommendation moved by Councillor Yake and seconded by Deputy Mayor Milne that the Township of Wellington North Rec Parks and Leisure Committee meeting of February 8th, 2022 be adjourned at 5:05 p.m. All in favor? Thank you very much. Thanks for everyone's time this afternoon, and we'll see a lot of you in about 2 hours' time. So
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
great evening. Have a
Take
great
care, all.
weekend.